Good morning. My name is JC Cantrell and I'm in the Organizational Development course at Western Technical College in La Crosse. Today we are going to be discussing some issues or room for improvement within the retention team's communication skill set. Throughout a series of interviews and surveys with the retention team and some of the leadership within the RRB command, recruiting and retention, I have confirmed that there are some communication issues within the organization. First of all, I'd like to point out that I feel that the communication issues are not necessarily verbal. They are more nonverbal in the form of lack of products in which inform us of some sort of information. I propose starting at the beginning with the communication, and in return that will have a long-term effect on the team. I have revised or created a few products for my boss, Master Sergeant Daniel Halen, who's the state retention NCO. The first product I would like to talk about is the organizational chart. So currently, we don't have a published organizational chart, we just have a verbal organizational chart. So my recommendation is to create a published organizational chart, and then also this will help identify the MSC liaisons, which are embedded within an organization. It will also assign the 3 miscellaneous organizations that there's not an actual retention NCO for, and it will also assign the assistant state retention NCO. So an example of that organizational chart would look like this. And then this would be updated as personnel changes happen within the organization. The next product I would like to talk about is a job announcement. So the job announcement is the very first product or document that leads into building the retention team. So when there's a vacancy, there's a job announcement that is published, and that is the advertisement for the position. So currently, the job announcement that I reviewed from the archives, it had a lot of duplicate information. It didn't address the additional organizations or the MSC liaison roles. It doesn't list locations, it just says multiple locations, which is very vague. And then it also lacks description or inaccurately reflects the actual duties. So I made a few recommendations. Some of it was to formatting and removing unnecessary verbiage, added locations, updated job descriptions, and it also created a separate job announcement for the MSC liaisons. I think that is important because some people may not want to take on that extra additional role, as it is actually a lot of extra responsibility. So example of what the 2 job announcements would look like. And this one would be for the retention NCO, and then this one would be for the retention NCO that is also the MSC liaison. The third product I would like to talk about is the DA Form 4856, which is a developmental counseling form, which we use internally within our organization. Every soldier is supposed to have an initial counseling done within 30 days of assignment, and then typically there are quarterly follow-ups leading to your annual evaluation review. So currently, Master Sergeant Halen has the expectations of being within the RRB command and our job performance all combined on one document. It creates for a lot of material and information on one document that, in my opinion, really it's too much information for one page, because he has a continuation onto the next page in a section that is actually allocated for different type of information. So my recommendation is to create a 4856, a developmental counseling that is just for performance. It would create a separate, and then create a separate one for the retention NCO and the MSC liaisons, and then update the purpose of counseling to reflect positions and job assignments. In the key points of discussion, it would reflect our overall mission, goal, and systems that we utilize. And then I also added some published references that to the task that he's giving us. So examples of those page 1 for the retention NCO and the MSC liaison positions. And then I also think we should update page 2, as there's a section called Plan of Action. Currently, the state retention NCO does not utilize this as a actions for subordinates to do after the counseling. So I feel it's pretty important. He used it as a continuation page. However, I feel it could be utilized as a top 10 resource list so that after the counseling, you know top 10 resources in which you need to self-develop yourself in. And the fourth and final product that I created to increase the communication skill within the team is a long-range calendar. Currently, extra tasks for events and support requirements are just sent out via email. A lot of times they're lost on different chains of emails, or someone is left off of an email, and there's also a lot of changes last minute. So my recommendation is to create a long-term calendar. It would capture the fiscal year. It would be a one-stop shop for all the events within the retention team scope for supporting, and it would be updated monthly by the state retention NCO, and it would at least show or reflect a 3-month projection of planning. So an example of that long-range calendar. My implementation plan is I actually have a meeting with Mass Art Halen, the state retention NCO, which is my first line leader, my supervisor, on the 27th of August. I plan to provide him an overview of my research and discovery, share some of the results of the survey with him, leaving all names and anonymous questions or anonymous responses, who they were out, just giving him a data overview. And then I plan to provide all the products that I discussed in this PowerPoint with him in an editable digital format. So an overview of my research on the retention team's communication is that by providing some digital products to use that we use, so by improving digital products that we use to communicate, we can easily increase the communication skill of the retention team. And those 4 products would be the organizational chart, which would create a clear understanding of the team's assignments and who we support. That not only benefits us internally, but also externally, so that the people outside of the retention team understand who we are and where we are. Job announcements would ensure that people applying for the positions have a clear understanding of the requirement and for which they're submitting an application for. And then updating the 4856, the initial counseling on the developmental form, would ensure that retention NCOs are aware of their assignments, systems, requirements, duties, and resources. The long-term calendar would reduce over or understaffing, ensure that the retention NCOs know in advance when they are supporting an event, and it would consolidate this information to one location, reducing unnecessary, unclear, concise emails. So that is all I have for you today, and thank you very much.